Heartstrings Stories, bringing you tales that touch the soul, stories that stir the heart, and journeys that linger long after the words are spoken. Sit back, relax, and let us take you into a world where emotions rule, love struggles against fate, and hearts are forever changed. She never thought her life would come to this point, but fate has a strange way of pushing people into places they never imagined. Amelia was just 21, fresh from university, carrying her dreams in her eyes and hope in her heart. She wanted to make something of herself, to become independent, to chase her ambitions. Yet life wasn't so kind. Her family was drowning in debt, her father had fallen sick, and her mother's pleading eyes had left Amelia with no choice. She was told she had to marry a man she had never met, a man much older, a man tied to a wheelchair. The whispers spread fast in her small town. The man was a billionaire, powerful, and untouchable. Ethan Blackwood. His name was enough to silence anyone. Once, he had been known for his commanding presence, a man who built empires from dust, a man whose gaze could make deals happen with a single nod. But tragedy had struck. A car accident had taken his ability to walk, leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. His empire still stood tall, but he had withdrawn from the world, bitter, cold, and distant. No one dared to cross him. And now Amelia was to become his wife. Her hands trembled as she signed the marriage papers. She didn't even meet him before the wedding. Everything was rushed, arranged by her desperate parents. On the wedding day, she wore a gown that wasn't hers, a smile that wasn't real, and walked down the aisle feeling more like a prisoner than a bride. Ethan sat at the front, dressed sharply, his eyes unreadable, his expression carved from stone. He didn't smile when he saw her. He didn't reach out. He simply signed his name beside hers, sealing a bond neither of them had chosen. The first night was the hardest. She stood in their shared bedroom, unsure, afraid, her heart beating so fast she thought it might break. He looked at her with a mix of anger and desire. He said few words, but his presence filled the room. When he reached out, pulling her close, she felt both fear and something she could not name. He was her first kiss, her first touch, her first night. And though she thought it would be cold and loveless, it wasn't. His hands, though firm, carried a desperation. His lips, though demanding, trembled with pain. It wasn't tenderness, but it wasn't emptiness either. It was fire and hunger, and she was consumed. From that night, she belonged to him in ways she couldn't escape. Days turned into weeks. Ethan rarely left his study. He worked endlessly, running his empire with precision, but when night came, he returned to her. He wouldn't let her slip away, wouldn't let her keep her distance. She tried to hate him, tried to remind herself this was forced, but her body betrayed her. Each night he claimed her, and each morning she woke up tangled in his arms, his breath warm against her neck. And though he was bound to the wheelchair, he never let it define him. His presence was overwhelming, his dominance unshaken, his gaze like steel. But there were moments, fleeting, fragile, when she saw beyond the billionaire, beyond the man who had taken her freedom. She saw Ethan, broken and vulnerable. Late at night, when he thought she was asleep, she heard him whisper names, call out in pain, nightmares dragging him into darkness. She learned about the accident, how he had once been engaged to another woman, a woman who left him the moment he lost his ability to walk. She had been his world, and she abandoned him when he needed her most. That betrayal had built the walls around his heart, and Amelia had been forced inside those walls without permission. Yet, as time went on, something shifted. She began to care, though she tried to deny it. She began to see the man he was, not just the billionaire, not just the husband forced upon her. She began to wonder if the fire between them could become something more. But Ethan was possessive. He didn't allow her to step away, didn't allow her to find her own space. He told her again and again, "You're mine, Amelia. No one will take you from me." And though his words frightened her, a part of her wanted them, needed them, because for the first time in her life, she felt wanted, not for her beauty, not for her family's needs, but for herself. The mansion became both her cage and her sanctuary. Servants bowed to her, but she felt alone. The only one who filled her world was Ethan. Sometimes he was cruel, sharp with his words, pushing her away with icy tones. Sometimes he was gentle, surprising her with small gestures, a blanket when she shivered, a rare smile when she laughed. He never said the word love, but his actions spoke louder than any vow. Months passed. Amelia's heart waged war with itself. She longed for freedom, yet she longed for him. She feared his touch, yet she craved it when he was gone too long. She hated how he controlled her, yet she couldn't bear the thought of him letting her go. She was his prisoner, yes, but she was also his healer, the only light in his broken world. One evening, when a storm raged outside, he finally let the truth slip. His voice cracked as he told her about the night of the accident, how he had begged the woman he loved to stay, how she walked away without a second glance. How he had sworn never to let anyone close again. And yet, here she was, in his arms, breaking down every wall he had built. He confessed that she terrified him not because she was weak, but because she had the power to destroy him the way the other had. He held her face in his hands and whispered, "You're the only one who can break me, Amelia. And I don't think I'd survive it." In that moment, everything changed. She realized he wasn't just holding her captive, he was holding onto her because he didn't know how to let himself love again. And she, against all odds, wanted to be the one to show him it was possible. Their story didn't become perfect overnight. There were fights, tears, days of silence. But there were also nights of passion, mornings of laughter, moments where they learned to trust. Slowly, painfully, Ethan began to let go of the bitterness, and Amelia began to see that what started as a forced bond was becoming something unbreakable. And so, the girl who was forced to marry a paralyzed billionaire found herself no longer trapped but chosen, no longer afraid but in love. He was her first time, her first heartbreak, her first everything. And now, he wouldn't let her go, not out of control, but out of love. Because sometimes, fate doesn't ask for permission. Sometimes, it takes two broken souls, forces them together, and dares them to heal each other. This is Heartstrings Stories, where love isn't always gentle, but it's always worth the fight.